there's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies.
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association.
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Welcome back to Especially the Lies, a Star Trek Deep Space Nine podcast. If you are new here, welcome. We're not quite sure how you found us or what's wrong with your For You page that we showed up on it, but we are a group of longtime fans of the Star Trek franchise who have convinced some of our friends who have never actually seen this show to watch it with us week to week and then offer their thoughts, opinions, hot takes, commentary, and sometimes just flat out random bullshit as we go through each episode. This week, we are back to discuss Season 3 episode, Heart of Stone. I am Blake, and with me is...
Christopher.
Emily.
And Mike.
For those who've been listening along with us, you'll notice that yet again, we're down a few people this week. If the pollen counts would cooperate with this goddamn show, and quit sending half of our cast to the infirmary for sinus issues or other random bullshittery, that would be greatly appreciated. Hopefully we will be back soon with a full complement of our hosts. But until then, Christopher, you're gonna have to fill in again.
All right. It went so well last time.
But I understand you have our synopsis, and it's a group effort this week. Mike helped out a little bit.
Computer, play the ancient Earth sea shanty Louie Louie. Nog calls his father a loser, and Kira gets stoned, making Odo go all gooey.
Okay.
I love it.
Nice.
Nicely
Nice.
done.
Well done.
I definitely want a co-author credit on that.
You know, if we could have planned this out a little better, we could have tried to get us all going with a little round of Louie Louie.
Oh, I'm drinking a little Louie Louie right now.
There you go. So normally we start off with our first impressions from our newbies, but we're going to again start off with our first impression from our newbie. Christopher, what have you got for us?
I thought that this was one of the better episodes this season. It was really character driven, and the dynamic between Sisko and Nog and Kira and Odo were both really, really poignant. And the twist at the end was genuinely unexpected. Like, I did not see that coming at all. I was still trying to figure out how in the hell they were going to get Kira out of the damn crystals. I was kind of pulling and channeling a Nicole, wondering like if it was going to be something stupid like the power of love breaking up the crystals, but I did not
Huey
see
Lewis.
it.
Yeah.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
But I did not see it going and being a changeling. So I thought that was a good twist at the end. I enjoyed this episode.
Okay, and let's switch over to our longtime fans that we've got on here, and let's start with Emily.
Alrighty. I like this episode. I think it's well done. I agree with Christopher. I like the twist at the end because we haven't really talked much about the Dominion for the last couple episodes, and this was a nice reminder that they're still out there and they're still planning stuff, it would seem. So I do like that the Dominion storyline hasn't just been dropped into a void to never be seen again. We're getting a hint of it back. And I also really loved the Nog storyline because that shows a lot of growth. And I think the way it was portrayed and showing the struggle of Nog and seeing the challenges his father has, because his father's trying to be a good Ferengi, but he doesn't have the good Ferengi skills, if that's what you want to call him, and Nog wanting something better so that he can feel as if he's a success somehow and won't feel like a failed Ferengi. So I really like that. And the way Cisco approached it was interesting because I understood him thinking, what is Nog doing? Is he serious? But then being like, well, I'll give him a chance because I don't have to send in the recommendation letter if he doesn't give me a reason why he should. So I really liked it. I think it's a good episode.
Hey, we resurrected a host. Nicole, hi.
Hello.
True or false, are you late because you just finished the episode?
Partially no.
That's not a denial.
So I started a little late, but I had like a hacking fit, so I wanted to get all my coughing out before I jumped on.
Well, we are glad you managed to make it back on with us this week. And before we get started, did you watch last week's?
I haven't watched it yet. This RSV kicked my ass.
Well, son of a bitch. Emily really wanted to get your thoughts on last
Damn
week's
it,
too.
Nicole.
Sorry, I ruined
All right,
everything.
you know what? We're going to record something over Girls' Weekend where I'm going to get your and Jesse's opinion on last week's episode. I don't care if we have to sit there and I force the two of you to watch it so we can do it.
All
We'll
right.
figure it out.
And we will put that on our Patreon, folks. You will get Jessi and Nicole's first impressions on last week's episode, life support. So stay tuned. If you're not part of our Patreon, you can join that at the link down below, and we will put that out there for you there. So, Nicole, let's go ahead and get your first impressions on this week's episode, Heart of Stone.
This episode was a cock tease, okay? As I'm watching this episode unfold, I'm like, oh my God, he finally told her, and she feels the same way. Holy shit. And then it turns out it was that stupid changeling bitch. So I was very mad when I realized that it wasn't her. Part of me wondered too if it was potentially somebody else. I wasn't sure, but I kind of had a feeling, and then that happened. But I got blinded by the love. You know how I am. So, but overall, I did like the episode. I really liked the Nog storyline. I was very surprised to see him wanting to join Starfleet. And when they were in the shop with Quark and Quark was yelling at Rom and Nog to fix the machine and basically telling Rom everything's your fault, I was like, I can see why Nog wants to join Starfleet because he doesn't want to be Quark's bitch basically for life. And then when Cisco was kind of pushing him and got it out of him, that was a very touching scene at the end. It kind of made me tear up. I wanted to reach through the screen and hug the little guy. I was like, that's so heartwarming. And I was very surprised and impressed that Rom finally got a pair of balls at the end, or whatever Ferengi have, and stood up to Quark and said, good luck. And he basically would be proud to have a son in Starfleet. So I really enjoyed the Nog storyline a lot, but I could have done without the fake, I love you, just kidding, it wasn't me. And then he doesn't even tell her at the end. I was like, come on, man.
Poor Nicole, she finally gets a love episode, and it's a complete cock tease.
Mm-hmm.
Emily, do you have a question for Nicole, or are you just wanting to start discussion?
No, I just want to say we have been waiting for this for so damn long.
I know. I'm sad that Jessi's not here because I want to see what she would have to say.
I know, because you two have been like, oh, they're going to get together. And I've been sitting here thinking, oh, wait till they get to this episode and they'll be all excited and they'll get to the end and they're going to be so pissed off.
This might be one of the best fake outs since I heard Angel Wings.
Oh my God.
You guys are savage.
We really are.
Yep.
When I finished the episode and I looked at my wife and I said, Jessi and Nicole are going to be so pissed.
Yep. True story.
So let's go ahead and switch back over to our longtime fans. And Mike, let's get your first impressions.
I really liked this episode. The running theme from last week continues that I didn't remember enough about what happened in this one. I thought it was just the cave plot. I kind of forgot completely that we had the turn of Nog's character so early in the show. I mean, early air quotes, it's season 3, but I still didn't expect it yet. But even so, I wasn't really looking forward to the cave storyline, having had seen it before, but it was actually much better done than I remembered. And I found myself kind of drawn in by the dynamic, and especially by Odo's character in this one. I felt like this was a really standout episode for Odo. But yeah, and then the other side of it with Nog was also really uplifting. So I liked this episode a great deal.
I also really enjoy this episode. I think it's actually one of the more underrated episodes of season three. And there's a lot of really good stuff in here. And this is one of those kind of bottle shows that they do really well, especially after something like Past Tense, because Past Tense was not a cheap episode for them to make. So this is kind of one of those episodes where they could put just a couple characters on a set together and just have them do what they do. And I think you had two really strong storylines with that. You had Odo and Kira in the cave, which I thought was great. Now, I will say, I agree with what some of the production said. The look of the stone thing, that was just stupid. But the storyline with the two of them there and how that played out with it being the female changeling, I really, really liked that part. But also, and the part that often gets overlooked, because this is kind of one of those where I think the B plot was easy to overlook in this case, but being Nog's journey to wanting to join Starfleet. And I think early on, I can't remember, Christopher, it was you or if it was Chris, but one of you was predicting that, oh, Jake's going to join Starfleet. It's like, and we're all sitting there going, no, not Jake, because it was going to be Nog that went to Cisco, we knew coming up in season three. So we were kind of anticipating to see how some of you thought when Nog kind of went to Cisco and said, hey, I want this letter as it goes through. And seeing the two of them together, I mean, you take an actor like Avery Brooks, right? And you put someone in a scene with them, it could be very easy for like Avery just to steal the show. And I think Nog actually, Aaron Eisenberg, did a very, very good job playing off of Avery Brooks in those scenes, especially that one where Cisco kind of puts his hand on his shoulder. It's like, what is this all about? And Nog just has that breakdown of, I don't want to be like my father. That was just fantastic, I think, in this one.
Yeah, it was me who predicted. I didn't predict that Jake was going into Starfleet. I predicted that Nog was going.
Oh, you did a
And
predict.
so
Okay.
The
I was fucking right.
Jem'Hadar episode from season 2.
I was right. However, it was completely different than how I thought it was going to go down. I thought something was going to happen at the station where they were going to get attacked. He was going to have some heroic moment, and that was what was going to inspire him to join Starfleet. That something was going to happen that made it almost inevitable. I did not see it that it was going to be this, I want to be something more than what I am. I want to serve something other than profit. I want to be something important. I want to do something other than just chase money. And I thought it was so well done. And I did not see that shift coming, nor did I think it was going to happen this quick. And the amount of world building that they did with them, and having like the coming of age ceremony, seeing him go up to Cisco, give him a bribe basically, and say, here, take my money. I want to be your apprentice. That was really cool to see because you get a little bit more insight on Ferengi culture. And Cisco didn't just out of hand deny him. He gave him a chance, gave him an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And which also I think is kind of some growth for Cisco, because Cisco has shown that he doesn't really trust Ferengi all that much. And he has had his confrontations with Quark, and Quark has rightfully called him out on some of his prejudices against the Ferengi. So to see both of them have that growth was really rewarding. And just when that last scene between the two of them, between Cisco and Nog, was so powerful and so well done. And I know that I have not wanted to be my dad. I didn't want to end up like him. I wanted to be something better, something different. But also for Nog to say, my dad is stuck in this role. This is his lot in life when he could be so much more. To have him see that as well and not have it just be, I don't want to end up like him, but I don't want to end up stuck in a system that just kind of pigeonholes me. So I thought it was really well done.
I'm just going to note, I hate filming this show. Mike, what have you got?
Yeah, I mean, Chris kind of jumped on the point that I was going to say too, because I thought it was really nice in the way that they handled the whole Nog plot line, that like he made it clear that he's not ashamed of his dad. It's nothing like that. But to Chris's point, it's a societal thing. And he kind of recognizes that his dad doesn't have the ruthlessness and the business acumen or whatever to achieve higher than a certain standing. He's always going to live in Quark's shadow, his brother's shadow. And meanwhile, Nog recognizes that his brother has lots of other talents that would be useful in any other place in the world. So I really liked that point, that it's nothing about his relationship with his own father, but it's really Nog bucking against the Ferengi system. And I've said I've kind of been the champion of this before, but like I continue to say that this whole thing says a lot about Sisko's growth and character as well, because yeah, I think once again we got those little tidbits that Sisko has taken his licks from his time with Quark and continued to try to improve upon himself. He showed that he's done the homework again by quoting the rules of acquisition back to Nog. And ultimately, like this was like the big test for him, was he's been trying to grow. He's been trying to accept Ferengi for who and what they are. And he was kind of put to the test, like, are you going to let Ferengi into your playground or not? And ultimately, he tested Nog and decided that, yeah, it's time. So I just really liked that whole plot line a great deal.
Cool.
Yeah, and I was also surprised how self-aware that Nog was. He said, I don't have the business acumen, but I have the tenacity of my uncle, and I have the smarts and the hard work ethic of my father. He's like the best of both of them. And he recognizes that his dad is a mechanical genius, but he doesn't have that same grit, like Mike just said, that Quark has. So I think the fact that Nog was able to recognize what he has in him that would make him successful kind of was what really pushed the scales for Sisko too, I think. Obviously, he did a great job with the storage bay. He didn't steal anything. He found stuff they didn't find. He proved that he's a hard worker. And he basically was like, give me a chance. Give me a chance to prove myself. Give me a chance to not let you down. And I think the fact that he finally came clean and was honest with Sisko and was so self-aware, I think that that is what kind of tipped the scales for Sisko. And I really just thought that was so well played. And it was so funny because I can't really remember a lot of screen time with Avery Brooks and Nog together. This is probably the most in-depth communication between the two that we've seen. I also thought it was funny how O'Brien wasn't going to let him in. He's like, I told you he'd see me. That made me laugh really hard too. But also Nog is Jake's best friend and Jake is his son. So of course he's going to take the time to see him. He's not a dick. But it did seem like maybe it was a prank or something at first. And the fact that he got so upset at Jake and he finally came clean with Sisko, I think really says a lot about what we're going to see in the future with Nog, I think.
Well, I think the other thing to keep in mind too, especially for those of you who aren't familiar with the show, is Aaron Eisenberg at the time this was made was about 25, 26 years old at this point in production. And I think he played Nog very, very well, especially playing him as kind of that younger character, and it worked. His acting with it, and he'll describe this episode. He said that this was probably one of his favorite moments of his own acting career was these scenes with Avery Brooks in this one. Christopher.
They could have easily have turned this into a comedic storyline. And I'm glad they didn't, because when Jake came up and said, you're pranking my dad, you're pulling his leg, right? They could have easily have just made this another scheme, made it to kind of give some levity to the situation, because the other storyline was so heavy that this easily could have turned into something comical. And I'm glad that they kept it serious and that we actually got to see some growth from Nog and not just have him how the Ferengis are normally played in this series as kind of comic relief. So I liked that part because it just showed real growth and that this is something that I think is going to be important.
Mike.
So I did also want to talk about the acting in this, because I was also it occurred to me after the episode and how brilliant Aaron Eisenberg's performance was. And the thing that I'm curious if anybody else got this, but when he walks into Sisko's office, that whole scene was so funny to me because it reminded me so much of how it feels to go on a job interview. There are certain times in your life when, even as a 40-plus-year-old adult, you're made to feel like kind of like a kid again, where you're out of your depth. You're going to ask dad for permission for something or whatever. And that to me is a job interview in a nutshell. You're walking into somewhere else and you're like, oh, hi, you're real mousy, and you could tell that it was very rehearsed. Like he played that awkwardness to the T to where I genuinely like felt it when I was watching that scene. So I really, really loved it.
And I just loved in the interview process, he walks in and just throws the bribe right down on the desk. Like, there you go. There's the bribe.
Doesn't even hide it. Like,
It also didn't occur to me that that's what that was until a little bit later. And I was like, oh my God. Like,
But did he think of it as a bribe? Because in their culture, you buy your internship. Yes, we consider that a bribe, but that's their standard application process.
that's kind of how I thought too. Like,
One
that's what
person calls it an application fee. Someone else,
Yep.
particularly the lawyers, call it a bribe.
that is totally how I thought of it in the moment, Emily, is I thought it was just like, this is just what you do. You throw money at the table, you have to buy your way in. But
Hmm.
yeah, and then like as it rolled on, I'm like, wait a minute, like
Yeah.
I'm just going to say, I'm pretty sure some former Illinois governors have used that exact same criminal defense.
yeah.
That's
how
just
long did he send in federal prison?
Yeah.
Not long
Nicole,
enough.
what have you got?
Yeah, not long enough.
I was just going to ask, there's no Ferengis in Starfleet at this point, right? So he would potentially be the first one.
They
Is that
said it.
true?
Yeah,
Yeah.
they said it.
That's what I thought. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yep.
Yep, you heard that part right.
Cool.
And with him like throwing the money down too, Cisco didn't even like he reacted to it, but he also kind of was like, okay, he's throwing money, but like he pushed it away and like they could have played that differently too for a different effect, but I thought it was he acknowledged that it was like part of what he was trying to do, but he also was like, hey, take your money, I don't need this. And I think it showed a little bit of the sincerity of Nog is like, look, I have all this money here that I'm gonna give you because I'm serious about this.
Mhm.
Take this.
And see, I wonder though, would it be culturally insensitive not to take the bribe?
Yes.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean,
What do the Starfleet regulations say about that?
Right. Well, and I have to imagine that what's going through Cisco's mind when they call him and say Nog is standing outside. He's got to be like, oh, God, I knew this day would come. He's going to come in and propose some business deal, or that he wants to open a competing bar, or who the hell knows. Like,
Yeah, and then he's like, I want you to be my mentor.
Yeah.
And the look on his face.
Like,
Late horror.
Like, what?
wait, who?
I'm not interested in. Huh?
And I also like in this one, because we've commented before on kind of the way Quark treats Rom and how
Mhm.
Rom just sort of takes it. I did like in the ending of this one that Rom finally stood up to Quark and was
Yeah.
like, nope, this is my son. You may be the boss, but this is my kid. I'm the one that's going to have the last word here. And fuck off, basically.
We've seen assertive Rom a few times.
I mean, he has tried to kill Quark
He
a
did,
couple
yes,
times.
yes.
at least once he tried to kill Quark.
Well, who hasn't tried to kill their sibling at
Yeah.
least once or twice? or-
But murder might be a little different than standing up to him to their face.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I mean, I remember he was also very aggressive or very assertive about being a parent early on when they were trying to
Yes.
get Nog to go to school.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, when it comes down to it, when it comes to his kid and being a parent, he does the right thing. And he puts all the Ferengi bullshit aside and he does the parent thing first. And I've observed that throughout. And I do appreciate that because obviously Quark doesn't have kids and he doesn't care. He just wants Nog to stay around and be his like little busboy and stuff. And Rom's like, nah, dude, that's my kid. Fuck off. And that like, it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter who you are. If you're a parent, you always put your kid first, or you should at least.
Let's say that.
Yeah,
I
you
would
should,
go
is the
more
key
with the
word.
you should category of that.
The whole thing kind of, I don't know, it strikes home just a little bit too, because I have in my family somebody who owns a business, and then all of their children inevitably ended up working at that business. And as we have gotten longer in years, the original owner, founder, is getting old and has retired. There was the one kid who was clearly set up and fit to take over the business, and the others that maybe not so much. And so, like, watching kind of how the Ferengi dynamic sort of works, it's interesting because, like I said, it wasn't any disrespect to Rom. I think Nog recognizes how special his dad is, but also just recognizes that he doesn't have that dog in. He's always going to live in that shadow of Quark because Quark is the one has the natural inclination. Like I said, it reminded me a lot of this kind of family dynamic that I have personally witnessed growing up.
Anything else we want to cover on the Nog and Cisco piece?
Time to talk about the cock tease.
Well, to talk all about cock teases, Nicole.
So, okay, first of all, that crystal rock suit looked like a rejected Transformer outfit, by the way.
So it really did. I will say, there's a quote from Nana Visitor about it. And let me scroll back to where I had it pulled up. Because she was describing this as the suit and basically said, it didn't look like I'd imagined it when I read the script. I thought it was going to be like my body turning to stone. Instead, I looked like a big old hot fudge sundae and my head was the cherry on top.
That was good. Also, I didn't like her hair. It was too short. It needed to be longer and fluffier. I just want to point that out.
Welcome to the many hairstyles of Kira.
Yeah.
We've seen a few.
Mm-hmm.
So let's talk about the changeling bitch, because she's part of the, what's it called?
She'd be one of the founders.
The founders, yes. So she's one of the founders. And she is, so obviously Kira and Odo were out on like an expedition or whatever. And this bitch basically found them, lured them, and did this to see why he chose the solids over him, which made me laugh too, because I was like, you said solids over liquids. I don't know why that made me laugh, but I thought it was interesting though, because like she could have just asked, or she could have inquired or talked to him like a rational changeling, I guess, not person, but like had a discussion or asked more questions. Or I thought what she did was kind of a fucked up, cruel thing to do. And then she just fucking evaporates, like, bye. Like, bitch, like he should have took her ass out. And she even said, changelings have never heard of changeling. And he's like, well, there's no day like today. And I think if she didn't tell him where Kira was, I think he would have shot her ass because of his confession from earlier. So I just thought the whole thing I was just so mad. I'm just mad. I don't know what else to say, but I'm mad. I was looking for a happy ending, like he would save her and they'd be together. No, fuck
I'm
me,
sure
I
he
guess.
wanted a happy ending too, but
well, if you want a happy ending, you just need to go ask
holosuite.
Quark to have some time in the holosuite.
Oh God. Oh, also
with O'Brien.
I was just gonna say, before we dive into that, can we talk about O'Brien singing Louie Louie on a kayak and capsizing over and over again? That is fucking hysterical.
And the fact that Odo goes kayaking with O'Brien.
Which they have kind of alluded to before, that he has had trouble connecting with people, or he doesn't really understand like the need for friends, that he's been lonely. And to show him not just connecting with Kira, but with all of the rest of the people on the base. And you see a little bit with Quark, because they always have a good dynamic between them. But to see that he isn't just kind of isolated with Kira and with Quark, that he is making connections with the others on base. And I thought it was funny. It's another friend that O'Brien is making. So not only does he have Bashir, he has Odo. I guess he needs somebody to hang out with while Keiko's gone.
He's the guy with all the free time with no family around. So
by his choice.
I have those friends. They're like, hey man, why can't you just come out and drink whatever I want you to do? And I'm like, fuck you.
Because my dog gets mad when I'm not at home. But see, I used to be one of those friends, and now it's like, I'd rather just stay home with the dog and watch Netflix.
Yeah.
Nicole.
So I think Christopher hit the nail on the head. Like, Odo's really putting himself out there, and I think that is really important. But what I kind of think or observed is I feel like when he met the changelings and he connected with them in that little pool and felt the energy and whatever they wanted him to feel, and then he still chose to go back to the solids, quote unquote, I almost feel like that humanized him even more and pushed him to acclimate and cultivate these relationships. Because if you notice that after that happened, now he's starting to build these relationships and have more of an interaction with people and not isolating himself. And I feel like it did the opposite of what that Liquid Lady wanted to do. It like actually, I keep forgetting her name. So,
She doesn't actually have one. She's referred to
okay.
as the female changeling.
So Liquid Lady's fine. All right, great. So I think it actually did the opposite of what she wanted it to do. I think it gave him the answers that he's been seeking for his entire existence of where he came from, but solidified that he's in the place he needs to be, and he's worked and built those relationships and like cultivated those even more. Because you see him being way more chummy with people, and he even put up with Luxana Troy and like dealt with her when she was there. And he could have pushed her off and been mean to her or whatever, but he accompanied her, and I just feel like he's much more trying to understand the humanoids, as he calls them. And he even said, like, he does these things with O'Brien to try to understand more about who they are and what makes them happy and what makes them tick and stuff. So I just thought it was just kind of interesting how he doubled down on his choices and moving away from them. And then she even tried to pull this stunt, and he's just like, yeah, fuck you. I made the right choice. You suck, you know? So I'm actually interested to see if he develops more relationships as he goes, because I just think it's really, I think once he had those, and this might be me going way too deep. I'm on a lot of cold meds and medications and stuff, but I think that once he got those answers and he filled that hole where he didn't know where he was from or who he was, I think that kind of allowed him to open up and like kind of embrace what he's doing and embrace his life and his friends and his world, and just kind of like, I don't want to say become a butterfly, but like, you know what I mean? It made him fill that void so he can continue and go forward with his life. That's just what I think.
I think that's a great observation, Nicole. I mean, they almost did an intentional misdirect where in the immediate kind of aftermath of the big reveal about the founders, I felt like there were a couple times when they came back to DS9 and they paid special attention to the fact that Odo seemed to be embracing his changelingness a little bit more. Like there's the whole thing about him practicing turning into different shapes in his quarters, where for a second it felt like they were trying to make you, the viewer, feel like, oh, maybe Odo's starting to drift away from us. But instead they've kind of done the opposite. Like you said, I think they've started to show that he's a lot more comfortable trying to, like, he felt like he needed to see where he came from, understand himself. But what he realized after he did see them and find out what their deal was, it's like, oh, I'm not like them at all. I am absolutely my own person. And so it's like, yeah, now he's kind of stepped into this new role of looking around and looking at the people in his life and realizing, I do have a life. These are people that I care about and who care about me. And if you think what's weird what he and O'Brien get up to, just wait until you find out that he and Bashir are chums and what they do.
Oh boy.
Whoop, whoop.
Don't spoil things,
Oh
Mike.
jeez. I don't trust any of you fucks, but
Let me tell you,
I
Chicka wow wow.
the gathering of the Juggalos still happens in the future.
Oh my God. But I do think that's also a great point too, Mike, because think about it. If you have been having this missing piece, like this is a shit terrible analogy, but I'm going to give it anyway. So in 2008, I got diagnosed with all my medical issues, and I kept having all these things happen to me. So from 2008 to 2000 or 2023, so 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, or was it 2024? Anyway, 2 years ago, whenever I had my blood clots and all that. From 2008 to then, I never had answers. I didn't know why I was getting sick. I didn't know what was happening. I didn't know what was causing it. I've asked doctors and I would ask questions and nobody could tell me until I found this one doctor who figured it all out with 2 tests and told me, right? And getting that information of this thing that was missing out of my life for so long, that was like plaguing me, and getting that answer completely changed the entire future of my life and like answered those questions, and it allowed me to reconcile that and move forward. And I feel like that's kind of what I felt with Odo, is he's had this hole, this thing that's plaguing him. And now that he knows, he can move forward and live his life to the fullest and be confident and be happy and not have that missing thing and that ache anymore in his life. And I really hope that continues on this trajectory and they don't fuck with us, because I'm still mad about this episode.
We knew there was going to be some fun with this one coming up. We really did.
I know. We've been anxiously awaiting.
Y'all are evil.
Hey, we didn't write the
We
storyline.
didn't write the story. And we didn't tell you what to get emotionally invested in either.
That's true. I'm just emotional.
We just sat back and decided to watch the fun.
I liked the origin of Odo's name. I thought that was a genius move
It was a good story.
to have it mean nothing, right?
Yeah.
That he is nothing. And as we kind of said, he has never really known where he was. He was always searching for something. He never felt like he belonged. So he didn't feel like he was anything special, that he was nothing. And finding out that he was part of something was a monumental change for him, but it did make him realize that he already had a family. He already was something to others. And I know that it was all the changeling, but how Kira was reacting to that story, the depth that it gave that whole storyline was just, I'm so pissed off that they made that change too. Nicole, like I sat there pissed. I'm like, we go through all of this and then we find out that it's not even actually Kira. And all these super poignant moments that could really deepen and enrich their friendship, their love, their relationship together. And it's all for naught right now. And at the end, when he can't even tell her what it was that happened, like the frustration, I wanted to scream, like, just fucking tell her already. Like, you already did it once. You already ripped off the Band-Aid. Just do it again. But here we are.
Well, and they even got the actress who plays the female changeling. Normally they list guest stars right in the front credits.
Mm-hmm.
They actually got her to consent to having her name listed in the end credits, so they would not give away the twist in this. So they even planned it out, and they had her consent to not be, and they actually listed her as special guest star instead of just guest star as part of, please let us put you in the end credits.
I did notice that she was there in the end credits because I saw Aaron Eisenberg.
Mm-hmm.
He was right after the main credits rolled, and I said, "Oh, Nog's in this one." Or, well, I mean, you already knew, but like because of the opening scene, but his name came there right away, and then so yeah, not knowing that there was another guest star to have that twist at the end was really smart of them.
And I think as far as him not telling her at the end, you had the female changeling throw that line at him. She's never going to love you. How could she? You're a changeling. And I think several of us, if not all of us, have had that experience where someone has said something like that to us. Even if it's someone we can't stand, but that still gets in your head with that little bit of doubt, that little nagging voice in the back of your head that repeats that line. Was she right? And I think that is what played into Odo at the end when it was, oh, well, it was just a slip of the tongue, rather than going through the confession again. Because that voice in the back of his head was still that female changeling with, she's never going to love you.
Yeah, I understand that, but also at the same time, like you want to yell and scream at him and say, just tell her already. But no, that's an excellent point.
Nicole.
Yeah, that's when he should have shot that liquid lady, is when she said that shit, okay? He should have just been like, boom, boom, you're dead, bitch. But yeah, when he didn't tell her at the end, that like kind of gutted me a little bit. I was already emotional from the Nog Cisco. Like that whole ending had me flustered and emotional, and I was mad. I was like, just tell her, like Christopher said. But I do think you're right. I didn't even think of that like maybe she got in his head and that's why he didn't say anything. But hopefully he'll get his head out of his bucket and he'll tell her at some point, because I mean, how many more near-death experiences are they going to potentially have? So it's like, life is short, say it. I don't think aliens live forever. Odo might, but I don't think Kira will. So I hope he tells her at some point, but it did frustrate me as well. And I didn't even think of that. It's like that one fucking line at the end of an argument where somebody gets it in there and it's just like, and then they like hang up the phone and you're like, you motherfucker. Oh, God, that makes me even more mad now.
Yeah, that's a real shitty thing to say. That's why I say it whenever I'm pulling away from a drive-thru. After they hand me my bag of food, I'm like, they're never going to love.
Oh my God, Mike.
There's a whole string of drive-thru workers that are in therapy in your community because of you.
They pull up to Jimmy John's and they're like, "It's the guy again."
Oh no, it's the fortune teller.
Think anyone working at a Jimmy John's can afford therapy, Blake? This is the United States. This isn't. We
Shit,
don't
I can't
care about
afford
health.
therapy. Nobody
This
can.
is true, and let's face it, Jimmy John's is such a shit company anyway. Oh, there goes that sponsorship deal.
Oh darn.
Yeah,
We're
oh,
never
darn.
going to get it anyway.
Listen, if Pornhub didn't sponsor us, Jimmy John's isn't going to.
No, we just got a cease and desist from Pornhub.
Still our proudest moment.
Proudest moment of podcasting. We get a cease and desist letter from Pornhub. Never been prouder. So, do we have anything else we want to talk about with this particular episode?
Never watched it.
So I truly do think this is one of the better episodes that we've had, even of the series so far, not just of season 3. I think this one is really underrated and kind of one of those unsung episodes that's just got solid storytelling, solid development,
Yeah.
and it's just really well executed. Even if some of the costuming was questionable, the rest of it was really, really well executed.
Yeah. They're not going to win any Emmys for costuming
No.
on this episode. But it was, I mean, both storylines could have held their own episode, and they were really well done, really well acted. And even without the twist at the end, the Odo and Kira storyline was very powerful, and the twist just made it even more so because it makes you wonder what they're planning.
Yeah. No, it definitely was a good episode. It was frustrating, but it was good. But I feel like if an episode evokes emotion out of you, it was good.
Yep.
Even if it is frustration and cock teases and pissing you off, it made you feel something. And also the tenderness of the Nog situation and Cisco at the end. I think it was a good balance. And like you said, Christopher, they could have made it comedic and they could have went another way, but I'm also so glad they didn't. And I'm so glad that Cisco softened his heart a little bit towards Nog. Like, I think that was just kind of what we needed after the twist.
Really didn't picture Kira for being a crystal bitch, though.
Really, dude?
A ghetto
True.
broke down transformer.
Once somebody gets into the crystal life, man, it's hard to get them out.
Jesus.
The things we learn about people on this show. So let's go ahead and get any questions and predictions from our now 2 newbies. We started with 1 and now we have 2. We're back to plural.
They're multiplying.
Oh, that was another like that.
Jesus.
No, because like the multiplying, like at the beginning where Bashir is like, we're throwing a baby shower
Oh,
for Ensign whomever because he's multiplying. We're gonna have the hatchling, and O'Brien's got him a hatchery, and I went to Garrick's to have him make him some baby clothes. I thought it was a throwaway scene, but it was so funny just to, and they subvert that expectation that the female is going to be the one who is carrying the child.
Mhm.
And all I could think of was the Orville.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So let's go ahead and go to Nicole and get all of your questions and predictions for this one.
Does Odo ever tell Kira that he loves her? Will they ever be together, or will my heart just be shattered again? That's my biggest question. Also,
Can you trust us to answer that?
oh, I know you won't.
Okay.
Also, are we going to see this changeling bitch pop up again? And what kind of shit is she going to cause and trouble is she going to make? That's all I got.
Christopher, your questions and predictions.
Does Nog make it through the academy? And how are the founders going to use this info that they pulled out of Odo against the Federation or against Odo himself?
Good question.
Because they're bringing him back. This issue with the Dominion doesn't seem to be really put to bed like we thought it was that they're bringing him back. So how are they going to use this to like fuck things up? And the Maquis were again mentioned in the neutral zone, like that was kind of the ploy to get them in, like chasing this rogue Maquis. So again, what problems are they going to cause? What war are they going to start? How many wars are we going to have?
suppose we'd be remiss not to at least mention that this is at least the second time Dominion and the Changeling in particular decided to like play these weird head games with. I guess they didn't put him in a simulation this time like they did the last time. They definitely put Odo through a simulation of sorts.
I don't know what's kind of worse, having it be a simulation and just having them all kidnapped and trying to figure out what they're willing to go through, or to intentionally fuck with the guy and play mind games with him when he is fully cognizant that this is something that actually it's real to him. The other situation, it wasn't real to them because they were asleep, or they were being used, whatever, however the hell they did it, but they weren't aware of what was going on. Odo was cognizant the entire time. He didn't know he was being messed with, but he was cognizant, and that is some messed up bullshit that the founders are doing.
It's almost like they didn't like it when he told them to go pound sand and left with the enemy, you know?
I'm sure, Christopher, if we need to figure out what's worse, there's some memos that I think might have been written in the circa early 2000s from Alberto Gonzalez, Don Rumsfeld, and John Ashcroft that might shed some light on your question there about what's worse to do to people.
Yeah.
So I think that wraps up our discussion of Season 3's episode Heart of Stone. We will be back next week where we will discuss Destiny. For those of you who are following along with us and want to join the conversation, all of our socials links are down below. For those who have joined our Patreon at any level, you get access to our Discord server, where there is always some lively discussion. There was quite a lively discussion this weekend over various ethnic meats on our food porn channel. So you can check that out for whatever that may be worth to you. Mike also has posted some musical choices on his music section of Discord. And hey, you never know what you're going to find out there. It is a mixed bag on our Discord.
What I can tell you is it generally isn't about DS9.
It generally is
really
not about
isn't.
DS9. And if you think we're unhinged on the show, like I said, go read the Discord. You get access to that at any level of our Patreon. If you join our Patreon at the $6 or above level, you actually get early access to our episodes, and we're going to start trying to get some more bonus content posted out there, such as what was mentioned earlier. Some of our hosts are going on a girls' weekend. Clearly, some of us weren't invited to that. But on their girls' weekend, they are going to try to get Nicole and Jessi's first impressions for last week's episode, and we will put that exclusively out on our Patreon channel. I did have a review I was going to read this week until I read the full comment, and was actually one of our listeners telling another listener to go fuck themselves.
Oh, fun. I love that.
Review off of
I love
Spotify.
it.
It's like, bravo, well done. It was kind of the Happy Gilmore goes through this. This was the dumbest comment I've ever read, and can't believe that you took time to write it or I took time to read it. I'm like, damn. Okay.
Our people stand for us. I love that.
They really do. But if you do want to leave us a review, you can do that on Spotify. Leave us a comment there, or you can leave us a review on your podcast app of choice, although Apple is the easiest for us to access, and we will read those here on the show. Until we are back next week, I have been Blake, and with me has been
Christopher,
Emily,
Mike,
and Nicole.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to Visiting with the Prophets, where we're going to talk through the handful of questions and predictions we got from our newbies. Not a whole lot this evening, but they are some good questions. And I think we can give some answers here. So what do you say we jump into them? Emily, what do we got?
Sounds good. Does Odo ever tell Kira he loves her?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
That,
gonna
that
be a
will
while.
depend. It's going to be a while, but it's coming. And here's the thing. She said, or will our hearts get broken to a million pieces? I'm going to go on a limb and
Yes.
say yes, they will, but
Yep.
not because of that. I think when Dax dies.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
think when Jadzia gets killed.
There's gonna be a lot of rage on that
It's
I,
gonna
episode.
I
be
think that's going to be the one that breaks the hearts.
it's gonna be a big WTF for a lot of people.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think there's gonna be a lot of heartbreak in general as we
Mhm.
go on.
Like nowadays in TV, you watch a serious show like an HBO series or something, like anybody can die at any time, but it's just you take it in stride. It's the Game of Thrones syndrome. But like you go back to this and you watch X number of seasons of DS9, and you're gonna assume Dax is to some degree.
All right, what else we got?
Does the changeling bitch come back? Oh yes,
Oh,
she
yeah.
Oh,
does.
yes.
And does she fuck things up? Oh,
Oh, yes,
absolutely.
she does.
A lot. A lot.
She pretty much commits genocide.
Yeah, she does a lot of terrible shit.
Yeah.
So that's cool. There'll definitely be thoughts on that. Does Nog make it through Academy?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And how will the founders use the info about Odo being in love with Kira?
They don't really use that against him because the founders still have hope that Odo will come back to them.
Right.
And it's not, and they don't really ever turn on Odo. I mean, they do after he kills the changeling at the end of the season, they punish him, but they still have hopes that one day he will return to them.
Yeah, they do. And I actually think at the very end, when he does end up returning them, I think there'll be some heart.
Mm-hmm.
See, what was next? How many wars will there be?
Well, I would argue most of it's interconnected because it's
Yeah.
the Dominion charging because, and let's be honest, we've done the same thing throughout history with the different proxy wars of the Cold War. These things are related because it's the changelings that orchestrate the Cardassians going after, or the Klingons going after the Cardassians. I would probably bet they never really admit to it, but I would say that the changelings are also stoking some of the anti-Dominion Maquis conflict behind the scenes.
They're definitely
say.
involved in escalating things, it would seem.
Because they want to destabilize the Alpha Quadrant.
I guess
Well,
they don't
and
really,
'cause-
they don't really say anything about the Maquis, but I mean, so I guess you could technically,
But in
that's
this
a separate deal. But
episode, Odo asked her, like, wait, how'd you get a Maquis ship? And she was just like,
that's true. That's
like,
true.
they had infiltrated it like they're gonna do again. So I'm assuming there's, whether or not we get super details on it, they're infiltrating and manipulating that as well.
And I think in even some of the beta canon, if I'm not mistaken, they get a little bit into that in the beta canon that the Dominion is behind some of the hostilities.
Yeah. So there's definitely a few conflicts, but they're at this point they're all pretty much going to be interconnected
Yeah.
to Dominion attempting to take control and creating proxy wars to weaken the groups they're trying to
Yeah.
take over.
So the short answer is how many wars? One really big one.
Yeah.
Yes.
What else we got?
That was it. You know what? I was kind of surprised is that no one picked up on when Nog was talking about how great his dad is as an engineer.
Yes.
And no one like grabbed that and ran with it at all. They just let that one go.
And it's been hinted at before.
Yeah, it has. And I thought that was kind of interesting, but mainly because we know what's going to happen with Rom.
Which is his rise to Nagus related to his engineering talent, or is it kind of?
It's separate.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's more his mom banging the current Negus.
That's right. But yeah, it's yeah. I think everyone's gonna lose it when they get to see Grand Nagus Rom come about.
Yeah. There was something else I felt like I didn't make. Sucks to be me, but the Rom becoming an engineer or like moving away from Quark's bar.
And I can't wait till we get to that episode for Bar Association because that's one where Rom's like, I can't work here anymore. And I love that episode. I cannot wait till we get there.
I can't wait until him and Lita hook up and they all lose their shit.
So fun because yeah, Rom and Nog both kind of become like these great underdog stories for this show.
They really are.
Okay. Well, I think that wraps up our discussion. We will be back next week, like I said, with Destiny. And that's actually a pretty good episode too. So I think we're gonna have a string of some good episodes here as we go through the rest of the season. Until then, I have been Blake, and with me has been
Emily.
And Mike.
Night, y'all.